Genesis 3 ended with exile from Eden. Humanity had lost paradise. Adam and Eve were outside the garden, clothed by God, but separated from the place of life and peace. Now Genesis 4 begins with life continuing east of Eden. Eve gives birth to a son named Cain. Then she gives birth to his brother Abel. One becomes a worker of the soil. The other keeps flocks. The first brothers in history grow up in the same household, under the same parents, in the same fallen world. In the course of time, Cain brings some of the fruits of the soil as an offering to the Lord. Abel also brings an offering from the firstborn of his flock, from the fat portions. The Lord looks with favor on Abel and his offering, but on Cain and his offering he does not look with favor. And suddenly the first great sin outside Eden begins to unfold. Cain burns with anger. His face falls. Something inside him hardens, and the Lord speaks to him with warning. Why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? God tells Cain that if he does what is right, he will be accepted. But if he does not do what is right, sin is crouching at his door. It desires to have him, but he must rule over it. That warning is one of the most powerful moments in early Genesis. But instead of mastering sin, Cain yields to it. He speaks to Abel. Then, while they are out in the field, Cain attacks his brother and kills him. The first children born into the fallen world produce the first murder. The earth that had once brought forth life now receives the blood of a righteous brother. Then the Lord comes to Cain with a question. Where is your brother Abel? Cain answers with one of the coldest lines in all of Scripture. He does not know. And then he asks, Am I my brother's keeper? But God knows exactly what has happened. Abel's blood cries out from the ground. That image is haunting. Cain thought the field would hide his crime, but nothing is hidden from God. Then judgment comes. Because Cain has shed his brother's blood, the ground will no longer yield its crops for him as it once did. He will become a restless wanderer on the earth. The man who worked the soil is now alienated from the soil. Cain is terrified by the sentence. He says the punishment is more than he can bear. He fears that whoever finds him will kill him. And here, once again, even in judgment, mercy appears. The Lord places a mark on Cain so that no one who finds him will kill him. Cain leaves the Lord's presence and lives in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Genesis then traces the line of Cain. Cain has a son. He builds a city and names it after that son, Enoch. His descendants continue, generations pass, human life expands, and in Cain's line we see something important. People build, create, and develop culture. One descendant becomes the father of those who live in tents and raise livestock. Another becomes the father of those who play stringed instruments and pipes. Another forges tools of bronze and iron. So civilization is growing. Music appears, metalworking appears, cities appear. Human society is advancing. But moral progress does not keep pace with cultural progress. The clearest example is Lamech. Lamech takes 2 wives, signaling another fracture from the original pattern of Genesis 2. Then he boasts of violence. He sings a dark song to his wives, declaring that he has killed a man for wounding him, a young man for injuring him. And then he compares himself to Cain, but in an even more extreme way. What happened in Cain as jealousy and murder becomes, by Lamech, open celebration of violence and revenge. Sin is not shrinking, it is multiplying. Human beings are becoming more productive, more inventive, more organized, but also more violent, proud and corrupt. Adam and Eve have another son. Eve says that God has granted her another child in place of Abel, since Cain killed him. This son is named Seth, and with Seth a new line begins. Seth also has a son, and at that time people begin to call on the name of the Lord. That final line stands like a light in the darkness. In a world where murder, pride, and revenge are growing, there are still people who turn toward God. Because of Enoch, the pattern changes. Instead of simply saying he lived, had children, and died, the text says Enoch walked faithfully with God. Then comes the astonishing statement, Enoch was no more because God took him away. That line breaks the rhythm of death. In a genealogy filled with mortality, Enoch stands out as a testimony of fellowship with God. He walked faithfully with God. It is brief but unforgettable. Even in a world marked by death, there can still be closeness with God. Even in a cursed earth, faithfulness is possible. Enoch becomes a sign that the story of humanity is not only about corruption and judgment, it is also about the possibility of walking with the Lord. Then the genealogy of Seth reaches Lamech, who fathers a son and names him Noah. Lamech says this child will comfort them in the labor and painful toil of their hands, caused by the ground the Lord has cursed. That is a major line in the story. Humanity is still living under the burden pronounced in Genesis 3. The curse on the ground is still felt. Work is still painful. The brokenness of the world has not gone away. But with Noah's birth, hope enters the narrative. His father sees him as a child of comfort, a child connected somehow to relief from the sorrow of the cursed earth. The chapter ends with Noah having 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The stage is now set for one of the most serious turning points in all of Genesis. Genesis 6 opens with one of the Bible's most difficult and mysterious sections, describing human multiplication, marriages, and the Nephilim on the earth in those days and afterward. Whatever complexities surround those details, the chapter's main message becomes unmistakably clear. Human wickedness has become great on the earth. The Lord sees that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart is only evil all the time. Not occasional evil, not partial corruption, but a humanity whose inner life has become thoroughly bent away from God. The Lord regrets that he has made human beings on the earth, and his heart is deeply troubled. The Creator looks at his world, a world once called very good, and sees violence, corruption, and evil filling it. The God who made mankind now grieves over mankind's condition. Genesis wants us to feel the horror of sin, not just in human terms, but in relation to the heart of God. Sin is not merely the breaking of rules. It is the corruption of God's world. It is the grief of the Creator over what his image-bearers have become. The Lord announces judgment. He says he will wipe from the face of the earth the human race he has created, and with them the animals, birds, and creatures that move along the ground. The language is devastating. Creation itself is caught up in the ruin brought by human sin. The line from Cain to Lamech was not an isolated thread. Violence has spread across the world. Humanity is not simply mistaken, it is corrupted. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. That single sentence changes everything. In a world drowning in corruption, one man stands apart. Genesis says Noah was a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time, and he walked faithfully with God. Enoch walked faithfully with God. Now Noah does too. While the world sinks deeper into sin, God preserves a man who lives differently. When judgment is coming, what matters most is not what cities you built. what tools you forged, or what culture you created. What matters is whether you walk with God. Then God gives Noah instructions. He is to make an ark of cypress wood. He is to make rooms in it and coat it with pitch inside and out. God gives measurements for the ark, its length, width, and height. He tells Noah how to construct it, where to place the door, and how to build lower, middle, and upper decks. The coming judgment is real. The means of preservation is real. God is not speaking in symbols here. He is giving instructions for rescue. Then God says he is going to bring floodwaters on the earth to destroy all life under the heavens, every creature that has the breath of life in it. Everything on earth will perish, but with Noah, God will establish his covenant. That is the first mention of covenant language connected directly to Noah's rescue. Noah is told to enter the ark with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives. He is also to bring living creatures into the ark, 2 of every kind, male and female, to keep them alive with him. Birds, animals, and creatures that move along the ground will come to him. He is also to store every kind of food that is to be eaten. Human life will continue through Noah's family. Animal life will continue through the pairs God preserves. Noah did everything just as God commanded him. That sentence is a quiet contrast to everything that came before. Adam and Eve did not obey. Cain did not master sin. The world did not walk in righteousness. But Noah obeys.